Last week we saw two drone channels putting up content which backfired. Let's discuss. Hi, I'm Ash from DroningON, and this video is a little bit about responsibility and accountability. Last week, two YouTube content creators put up content onto their channels with a view that they were in the right, when actually there were fundamental issues with both. However, their version of the story is that they weren't to blame. It was only when the community commented that they perhaps realized the errors of their ways. Now, when we content creators publish content and put it on YouTube for the entire world to see, we open ourselves up for comments, positive and negative. And the important aspect is for us to really think strongly about the content that we're putting up before we put it up. Now, I'm not saying that if something goes horribly wrong when testing a product or flying your drone, that you shouldn't put it online. However, you should think about the message that accompanies it. Now, when something does go wrong, if you basically exploit that content by blaming somebody else, the community are going to respond with quite a force if you're not right. Now, the first video I'm talking about is from a channel called dronexfactor. He seems like a nice chap and he loves flying his drones. But the video started with a massive amount of rhetoric blaming DJI for his drone sinking into the sea. So you've probably seen this specific video discussed quite a bit. The drone operator was flying in an area long out of line of sight, which was his first big error, above sea and in an area where a TFR, which stands for temporary flight restriction, was due to kick in at a certain time. He actually admits himself that he lost track of time, and so when the TFR invoked, the drone was forced to land due to the DJI software. Now, this isn't DJI's fault in the slightest, and actually they're helping you, risking a big fine and potentially even imprisonment. Because if your drone is spotted in a TFR restricted area during the hours of that TFR start and finish, and they locate you as the operator of that drone, you will face a fine, especially if it's a TFR relating to a presidential visit or transport from A to B. Now, that may result in your drone auto-landing because of the software, wherever it happens to be, and in this example, it was above the water, which is unfortunate for the drone operator. But at the same time, we are flying our drones under aviation law, and that means you don't just get it up into the air and fly it. You must do your research before you fly, even if it's an area that you've flown before and that you think you know. TFRs are part of the NOTAM system, which is a notice to airmen, and that's a global standard. So before you fly, always go to the airspace operator's webpage and look up any NOTAMs that might relate to the area in which you're flying. That will help you to avoid losing your drone. But back to the point about publishing the video in the first place. Always think about how the message will be perceived. If you stick something up there where you've had a problem and you admit to the problem, you admit your errors and you use the opportunity to educate your audience, then you'll be seen as a positive contributor. But if you put that video up with a commentary which basically blames somebody else and you then attend live streams still blaming somebody else, you will be seen as the problem. Now, I'm sorry, dronexfactor, to use you as an example in this video, but it is a very good example, and actually your mistake is a great way of educating many other operators out there that don't know about TFRs and the auto land facility. It is a good feature regardless of the fact that it can result in a lost drone, but if that does happen, you can only blame yourself. The next video we're talking about is pretty notorious now, and it's from a channel called Bill the Drone Reviewer. Now, he's not quite a seasoned reviewer. I haven't really seen him review many products, but in this video he's reviewing the FTAviator, which is a new input device for the DJI drone range. But it goes horribly wrong, and after a first flight, which is a little bit dodgy, he launches again and the drone just flies off. Now, while testing this product in the first flight, his biggest mistake was to take it so far away. He lives in an area where there's a large lake, and he flies it to the other side of that lake, well out of line of sight. And when you're testing a brand new product which hasn't yet really been launched and is only out in a beta form, the last thing you do is fly it like that. Whenever I test any drone here, a budget drone or otherwise, you'll probably have noticed on this channel that the first thing I do is test them indoors. That's to make sure that the fail-safes work and that the product itself is stable and usable. And that just didn't happen. In this video, he took the product outdoors, ended up losing the drone, which was already already out of line of sight. He ran around frantically screaming, shouting and swearing. The fundamental error he made was not to understand the fail-safes of that device. And that's why when it flew away, he didn't know what to do. At any point, he could have flipped that drone into an alternative mode and it would have gone out of the control of the Aviator. Alternatively, he could have just turned his transmitter and the Aviator off and the drone would have immediately returned to home. Now, when he published that video, like the first content creator we mentioned, he just didn't consider the community response, which was very negative because of the fundamental issues and mistakes that we've raised just earlier. His video was featured in one of the regular live drone-related streams, and of course he received criticism there as well, but it was constructive criticism. However, he reacted, and he didn't react positively at all. In fact, he then did a live stream criticizing that community creator unfairly. Hopefully he's learned his lesson because that rant was taken offline, but the key thing remains here. When you have a problem, when you're flying a drone, don't run around screaming, crying, swearing and shouting. Keep focused, think about the fail-safes, initiate them, keep calm, and as we say in the UK, carry on. Now, looking back at these two videos that we've been discussing, if the FAA saw any of them, because these guys were both USA based, they might have an issue. And that's another consideration. Not only putting it onto YouTube, but doing it in the first place. Keep your drone in line of sight, keep it in visual range at all times. But the closing point here is if you can't handle criticism, or if you're not willing to add a commentary to say that you were wrong, don't put it online in the first place. Now, ultimately, both of these videos actually are positive because they've been educational for the community. The first one teaches people about TFRs and the fact that your drone will auto-land if you're in a TFR when it kicks in. The second video educates people on how not to test a brand new product, whether you're an amateur drone reviewer or you're a consumer who's actually bought it. If you have bought the FTAviator, read the manual and educate yourself on the fail-safes, because otherwise we're going to be seeing DJI drones flying off all over the place. So please be very careful. As a drone reviewer, we have a responsibility to be honest, sincere, transparent and genuine. So my advice to you as community members is be very careful with the videos that you trust before buying a product. Take a look at the track record of that reviewer, make sure they even review things and ensure that they're reviewed competently before you buy. Comment below with your thoughts about all of this, give this video a thumbs up or a thumbs down if you're a troll, and click that subscribe button. And remember, it's not always a great day to fly. Thanks very much for watching.